The techniques you use to inspect your roof will depend on whether you have a pitched or flat roof. The majority of houses are pitched roof. If you have a very steep pitch, I wouldn't recommend climbing it for safety purposes. Instead, use a pair of binoculars. Flat roofs are typically on commercial buildings, and if I were you, I'd call a professional to inspect it for safety reasons. The first thing to look at is the peak, also called the ridge. It should be straight all the way across the roof line. If there are any parts that sag or bow downward, it's likely caused by a cracked or rotting ridge beam, inadequate bracing, or inadequate spacing of the wood frame supports. Regardless, if you have this symptom, have it evaluated by a professional. Next, we want to look for any waves or ripples along the roof. Sheathing that is too thin, rotting, or delaminating likely causes this. However, keep in mind that new shingles placed over old shingles can also cause this due to the extra weight. The soffits of your house may have been made with untreated wood. Check these for rot, peeling paint, and animal holes. Anything that protrudes from the roof is a potential leak source. Check around chimneys, plumbing vent stacks, gas vents, and attic vents for missing or ripped flashing. Also, skylights are notorious for their leaks. If your skylight has allowed water to infiltrate, you've probably seen water stains around it from the inside. One of the main causes of leaky roofs is failure of the flashing. Flashing is needed around chimneys, plumbing vents, valleys, and where a lower level roof intersects with a higher wall. Flashing fails for two basic reasons. It corrodes with age, or wind and ice has caused it to come loose. It is hard to see problems from the outside, so check under flashing areas during the attic inspection. Many problems can arise from a stone chimney because of the irregular shape of the stones. Also, if your chimney rests on a downslope, be wary of the back side of the chimney. Water will often pool there. When we do our attic inspection, we'll look for signs of leakage on the upper side of the chimney. Here are some different examples of problems with flashing. The picture on top is the way the flashing should look, whereas the two pictures on the bottom indicate what happens when water is allowed to pool in areas where flashing should be. Asphalt shingles are the main seller of the roofing industry. Big advantages of these are the ability to apply new layers over old ones. However, some roofs can't support the weight and begin to sag. Weight is used to classify asphalt shingles and is measured in pounds per roofing square, where one roofing square is equal to 100 square feet. So, if you were to purchase lightweight shingles that are the least costly, you would be purchasing about 215 pounds of shingles per every 100 square feet. Heavier shingles go up to about 350 pounds per roofing square and generally have a longer lifespan. Most manufacturers have given asphalt shingles a lifespan between 15 and 20 years. However, proper maintenance of patching and coating exposed and eroded areas can prolong the lifespan a little while longer. If more than 1/3 of the roof has shown signs of aging, I recommend a new covering. An early sign of rotting shingles is the rounding of the edges between the tabs. This symptom indicates that the mat is absorbing moisture. Moisture that is absorbed into the upper layer will eventually bubble up or blister. Curling is part of the general aging process and is caused by the exposure to ultraviolet rays from the sun. Also, be wary of algae growing in shady areas. If algae are not removed, it will eventually rot the shingles. Any of these symptoms should tell you that your roof is leaking or getting ready to leak. Wood shingles are sawn by machine and have a nice, clean appearance. If your shingles appear to have a rougher look, they are probably sawn by hand and referred to as wood shakes. Manufacturers typically use redwood, cedar, or other hardwoods and treat them for maximum efficiency. Hardwoods are resistant to rot, but not immune to it. A high-quality shingle can have up to a 30-year warranty. However, curling and splitting can happen shortly after installation. Look closely for rotted, cracked, or broken shingles. Be sure to check for leaks and daylight that is visible directly between the shingles when you're in the attic. Also, I wouldn't recommend walking on this type of roof because wood can break under your weight or can be slippery from algae or mildew. Finally, if more than 1/3 of the roof shows signs of aging, it's time for replacement. Slate is one of the oldest roofing materials around. It is a dense rock that can be split into thin slabs. The biggest benefit slate offers is its durability. It is both waterproof and fire resistant. As with all rock, water will eventually cause cracks and splitting. What you can do is look for cracked, loose, missing, or chipped sections. If you see a section that has excessive splitting or flaking, this is probably caused by the repeated freeze and thaw cycles of water. And finally, areas patched with asphalt cement require periodic maintenance. Tile roofing has also been around for many, many years. The modern versions of this are made with fire clay, concrete, or fiber cement. Clay tiles are known as terracotta style roofing and are typically found on Spanish style homes. Concrete and fiber cement tiles are usually molded into simulating other materials such as slate. When observing your roof, look for split or broken tiles. Our last common covering of a pitched roof is known as standing seam. It comes in many metals, the most popular being copper, tin, and stainless steel. One edge of a sheet is bent up 1 1/4 inches, and the other side is bent up 1 1/2 inches. The seam forms when the short end of one pan meets the long end of another pan. That extra 1/4 of an inch is bent over the short side using a wooden mallet and a hand anvil. Then, the newly created seam is bent over again to form a double bend. Standing seams don't have any nails penetrating the roof, so there are fewer potential leaks. If you have this type of roofing, look for excessive rust and corrosion. These are usually dark patches and rust streaks. Most of the chimneys we see are made from masonry or prefabricated from metal. Masonry chimneys are usually supported by their own foundations and not dependent on the main structure for support. When the chimney runs up the side of a house, any open cracks between the chimney and the exterior wall indicate some underground settlement and is usually not a problem. I'd simply recommend resealing. However, a severe open area and excessive leaning needs to be checked by a structural engineer. If you are observing a brick chimney, look for loose, deteriorating mortar and bricks, especially on the back side. It's very important to have flashing present on a downsloping roof so water cannot build up and infiltrate the house. If you see signs of efflorescence, scrubbing the bricks with muriatic acid and coating them with the silicone sealant will protect them from early disintegration. The top of the chimney should extend at least 2 feet above the edge of a pitched roof. There should also be a cap above the flue to prevent downdrafts and rain from entering. A vent stack is a pipe that extends about 8 to 12 inches above the roof line. This is required by plumbing code and allows natural sewer gases to leave the house plumbing and exit into the atmosphere. If there is a vent stack terminating in your attic, this is a violation of plumbing code and dangerous for your safety, so I would definitely call a plumber. You will probably see a black ring at the base of the pipe, known as an asphalt cement seal. This seal needs to be checked once a year for cracks that will lead to leaks. Along the ridge you may also see roof vents. These come in round and square styles. We'll check for water stains during our attic inspection, and if we find any, we'll correct the problem with an asphalt, cement, or caulk. Skylights add a nice ambiance to any room, but are notorious for leaks. Newer styles have an aluminum frame and plastic or glass panels and domes. Check the edges carefully, and look for water stains on the interior of your house. Many houses still have large antennas on their roof. Sometimes these are strapped to the chimney for a little extra support. If there are any lines with anchors, check them for deterioration. A strong wind could lead to a bad accident. Also, look for a wire that connects the antenna to a metal rod in the ground. This is a grounding wire, and it's imperative if you do not want to be electrocuted. The most common style of guttering we see is called K-style. It's typically 5 to 6 inches wide. K-style guttering is very thin, seamless guttering, installed by a special machine, usually right on the home site. It is also available in pre-formed 10 and 20-foot sections made from plastic or aluminum. The best way to look for problems is to walk directly under your gutters. Ideally, the best time would be during rain. But if you need to manufacture your own test, direct a stream of water with a hose and watch for leaks. Many gutters are improperly installed and form a straight line where water just sits. The correct method of installation would incorporate a slight slope downward, about 1/16 of an inch for every foot of guttering toward the downspout. One of the more common problems is a faulty attachment to the house. With K-style gutters, spikes are often used and have a habit of working themselves out. Visually, you will see a gutter separated from the house or sagging. Look for exposed spikes that extend beyond the outer gutter edge. Your house may have half-round gutters. These are usually constructed of copper, plastic, or galvanized iron. Copper is found on higher-end homes because of its price and can be noted by greenish-blue stains where it drips and drains. Plastic gutters are often installed by the homeowners themselves and are known for their potential leaks at connecting seams. Galvanized gutters start to rust when the zinc coating deteriorates. If you purchase an older house with wood gutters built into the soffits, these are very prone to rot unless the inside is lined with copper. Our final check is locating debris. Ideally, your gutters should be lined with some type of screen to prevent debris buildup. But in my experience, ideally is not realistic. My basic rule of thumb is that if weeds or any growth is visible, they are growing in something that is clogging the gutter. When looking at your downspouts, check for proper connections to the house and to other pipes. It doesn't help when you have a large pipe connected to a smaller pipe beneath it that won't catch all of the water. The flow at the bottom should be diverted away from the house, not allowed to accumulate right against the foundation as shown at the top photo. The best way to divert water is by a long pipe as shown in the bottom picture. At least you should have a short rain diverter pan. Also, check the diverter pipe for any clogs and make sure it is not directed uphill, otherwise it's useless. And finally, as a general rule of thumb, there should be one downspout for every 30 feet of guttering. Here are a few additional examples of downspout situations you may come across. The picture on the top left is a downspout draining into a pipe which runs underground, and as you can see, a screen should be present to prevent debris from clogging the drain pipe. The picture on the bottom left is a downspout which is not living up to its potential considering it only runs halfway down the wall. The picture on the top right is a rain diverter pan, however, it's angled upward, so all the water is still accumulating around the foundation of the house. And the picture on the bottom right is a simple fix. However, right now, the only thing that's happening is water is accumulating around the foundation.